I will now play the role of a customer in upgrading this digital terminal to one which includes repertory, display, and speakerphone. In order to accomplish this, I'll first remove the handset, flip over the set, remove the base, now we add the feature module, and this is connectorized, as you can see.
The telephone has changed a good deal since the Scotsman Alexander Graham Bell invented it in the United States in 1876.
Display module is also connectorized.
This latest phone, produced by AT&T, the descendant of the company he founded, has a series of units that can be joined together to provide progressively more and more facilities thanks to a built-in micro.
And the customer can now test this terminal.
Bell's successors recently got legal permission to provide computer services to businesses, and they've decided to build up from something we're all familiar with, the humble telephone. In the US, the Bell system has established in the past 100 years a vast network of public and private communication lines. Today, the combination of the computer and telecommunications, including satellites, is at the base of the real revolution in office technology, which is just beginning to enable us to link computer to computer from our home, from our office, or even from a call box in the street, as easily as we can now talk to each other by phone. It was just off Long Beach, California, that Howard Hughes piloted the Spruce Goose, the world's largest flying boat, on its one and only flight. Now it's just another tourist attraction. The Hughes Aircraft Corporation no longer makes aeroplanes, concentrating instead on making much smaller devices, including specialist chips for the American defense industry. They're a high-technology company used to using computers in their products and in the design of circuitry. Now they've been among the first to experiment with AT&T's new combined computer and phone system in an attempt to improve their internal communications.
We're all interested in increasing the productivity of our workforce. We do a lot on the manufacturing floor with automation. We also have to increase the productivity of our office employees. So to do this, among other things, we need much more efficient ways of communication. Now, we have gotten to the state where we'll have a central computer with a lot of terminals in a network that's independent of the telephone system. And we have a telephone system, which is, again, the same thing. So the technology is getting to where we can now merge these two together. The telephone has a lot of interesting features for the user, as well as for the person who installed it into his plant. For example, with the display that we have, if I were to call someone, let's say 2661, it verifies the name of the person you're dialing. So another example is it could be a message retained for me. Message from me, next message. There's a call from Mr. Weekland, what time he called. I can now call him back by pressing one button. I can go on and see if there's more messages. There's an end of file, there are not any, so I can go back into normal mode. We have chosen a system by AT&T as we go in a transition period. I think there's going to be a lot of advances beyond where we are today, but we have a very good first step where we're now able to put the same wiring system that the computer terminal user is going to have tied in with the telephone system. And so we have one system to maintain. It's cheaper for the wiring. It's very flexible.
We're looking at the same cables that the telephone is on being the base for putting on computers. We're also assuming that those wires, which currently carry voice signals very fuzzily at very slow speeds, can, through some easily available technology, I'm not talking about inventing things, carry voice and data and text at the same time. You'll see in Europe and in the States the emergence of a key technology called PBX, the Private Branch Exchange, which really is a gateway. It's the link between people making telephone calls, word processors, terminals, into networks. Some of those networks will be company networks, some will be international. But the gateway, the thing that gets the user into the system, will be based on the telephone.
So at Hughes, the new private branch telephone exchange can carry both voice and information for the computer along simple twisted pairs of wires.
Good morning, Hughes Message Center. Can I help you?
I'm sorry, Mr. Perkins is not at his desk right at the moment. Can I take a message for him?
Sure, I can take...
Terminals similar to these are part of the telephone system we saw being joined together earlier. They're the next module to be, as it were, connectorized, and similar units could be soon on many people's desks. In this message center, outside callers can leave messages for people who aren't in their offices or don't want to be disturbed.
Now that's terrific, but what happens if I'm out on the road? I'm flying out to Chicago, and I'm in the airport, and I suddenly realize I forgot to call in for my messages. And it's after 5 o'clock, and all those message center agents have gone home. What am I going to do? How am I going to get my messages? Well, you'll remember that the message center agent has taken a message by keying it into the processor. That message is sitting as a text file in the processor. Aha, text-to-speech. I call in, I call the message center, it's after 5, there's no operator there. The message is read out to me in a human voice, and I know what it is that I missed and what I've got to do without waiting for 8 a.m. the next day.
The telephone company is putting a good deal of faith in voicemail, developing software which is capable of synthesizing speech with many of the normal inflections.
You have reached the message retrieval service. Please press your extension. Thank you, Mr. Wayne Africano. You have 2 messages. Message number 1. Call Don Keller at extension 6176. He has comments on your document. Message number 2. Your artwork is ready in room 3F302. End of messages.
In the future, we hope the telephone becomes one of the main methods of interacting with the computer, which means that data that's presently in text and numerical form would be able to be voiced out over the telephone to you no matter where you are. For example, if you're in London and your office is here, you could call in the middle of the night here. The computer would service your call and might, for example, read out your messages, which exist as text within the computer. And this is one of many applications where if we could use our telephones wherever we are, the ubiquity of the telephone becomes a primary tool for making impact of computers more widespread.
Anyone who makes frequent business trips knows the frustration of trying to make contact with people in the office back home. And things are far worse if you're abroad and there are time differences. Telephone tag is the worst problem. You manage to get through, but the person at the other end isn't there. And even if you leave a message, it's impossible for him to ring you back. But now there is a solution if you have one of the new portable computers. I'm at LaGuardia Airport, New York. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which makes it 10 o'clock in London, and my office is closed. And I want to find out what's going on. And I can do that with a local telephone call. First of all, I've got to call up the computer. 736-0099. And immediately I'm getting the tone which says I'm linked into the computer. Now, the telephone network was made for sound, and I have to connect the computer to it by linking it with these 2 cups and plugging it in at the back, like that. And I have a terminal now connected into the computer. It's asking me to sign on, so I give it my ID. And there it's asking me for my password. I give it the password, which it doesn't type out, enter it, and I'm now into the system. What's happening is that I'm connected through a gateway computer in New York, which in its turn is linked to another in London. This one holds my electronic mailbox, and later I'm billed for each minute I'm connected to it. Anyone who is a subscriber to the system can leave a message for me on that computer, and I can read it at any time and send a reply. The system is relatively cheap to use because the computers exchange my messages in a fraction of a second. So to find out what my mail is, I simply type in mail. Send, read, or scan. I want to scan and see how many letters I've got. I've read that one. Another one from the BBC, I seem to be very popular. So I simply type in read to, and I can see what that message is from David Allen. When you're returning from the US, we need an urgent meeting before the weekend. Can you manage this, David? Action required. Well, I'm going to reply straight away. Returning Tuesday. Late. Suggest Thursday at 4 p.m. Okay. Question mark, Mac. And to send it, all I have to do is to type .s. And there it goes, BBC 001 sent. So as soon as David Allen gets in tomorrow morning, he can get into the system, type mail, and he'll see he's got a reply from me. He can read it, and I don't have to phone him up. The airlines were amongst the first to install an international computer network, which many travellers now take for granted. But even the highly efficient ticket booking and seat reservation systems are now expanding.
Yeah.
One new link using the telephone is with the credit card companies. This ticket booking machine at LaGuardia makes use of the magnetic strip on your credit card to provide a do-it-yourself service for passengers on certain routes. Unhappily, some people in America are still perverse enough to use cash. So on this shuttle flight, the airline staff still have to go around collecting money instead of serving drinks. Alexander Graham Bell said that the phone service had to be easy to use, friendly, and above all, what people wanted.
Do you want a little warning to make you get up in the morning? Is your house on fire? Do you want to send a wire? Just lift up the receiver, that's all you've got to do. Soon anyone, and we will put you through.
Today, despite its old and overloaded network, British Telecom has a worldwide reputation for innovation. Its newest commercial division is fighting in a cutthroat international market to supply the services businessmen want.
The ordinary telephone system, which we all use, or I hope we all use, was designed just for a very simple, old-fashioned form of communication, that is, talking to each other. It wasn't designed for computers, it was designed long before computers. What we need to do is two things. First of all, we want to modernize the whole network, and that's what we're doing, so that if you want something that isn't really too fast and expensive, but very much faster than your present system, you can use the ordinary universal telephone service. But there will always be people, there are people now, who want something much bigger and faster than that now. We have to provide a range of services which you, if you're a businessman, can use. Our London office realised that there was an opportunity for the city businessman who deals in finance to have computers at his elbow, quick to use. They designed a city business system, fast speed of response, you don't even have a keyboard, you touch the screen.
The Treasurer's Department at William & Glyn's Bank was the first to use this system. A touch breaks two infrared beams and initiates a call almost at once.
Hello. All right. What do you... Well, we'll give you 2 million. Okay? Okay, that's fine. See you later. Okay, so can I give you £2 million at 145.17? Good, that's fine. Usual instructions.
This isn't just a speedier way of calling people on one of 1,000 possible lines. It's also a system for sending computer data, such as electronic mail at high speed.
In our business, we obviously want to be international. They're selling it in the City of London, enormous success. We are now selling it, would you believe, on Wall Street.
It really makes for a fast transition of money around the world, and with the large amounts that go across the exchanges and deposits these days, we have to be fast. That is the essence of our business. And this system, it makes this absolutely superb.
20 years ago, a phone call to New York often had to be booked a day in advance. Now it need take only seconds. An improved service obviously leads to high demand and to new ways of sending information.
We have heard a lot about the so-called optical fibre network. That's a very simple principle. That is, you transmit the electrical impulses not along a pair of copper wires, not even on a tube of copper wires, What you do is to send it along in the form of light. It bounces along a very, very thin strand of, in fact, very, very clear glass. That is entirely possible now. We have several hundred miles already of it in use. It works like a charm, and virtually you can expand it. The sky is the limit. In fact, the sky is the limit, so you use satellites as well.
We're seeing a new geopolitical battle. Not only is BT being liberalized, but AT&T, by being deregulated, now is coming up against IBM in massive fights in computers and communications. More importantly, AT&T is moving into Europe. It's made cooperative arrangements with a number of governments, with private companies. IBM is doing the same. BT is linking up with IBM. We're seeing a whole scrambling for position.
Let's talk a little bit about electronic mail. What makes you think that people are going to select your standards?
They won't convert to British Telecom standards, they won't convert to Merlin standards, but what they will do is to adopt a standard if someone who is big in the business, as Merlin is big in the business already, says, join us, use it our way, we'll help you use it. We will make sure that our machines talk the other big languages of the world. For instance, IBM, as everyone knows, has a system for their own computers. If you want a computer, it should be able to talk to IBM.
And all of a sudden, telecommunications has become the key differentiator. Banking is a perfect example. Banking is a massive battleground. And any bank that doesn't have an international network simply isn't a major competitor. I think any bank now that doesn't have cash point services clearly is not providing the basic requirements of being in the banking business.
Most banks have their cash points, but now the largest building societies like the Halifax are entering the fray, setting up their own networks and wheeling in the hardware. A machine like this is an investment that can take the pressure off the counter staff and attract us and our money away from the banks. Inside, new terminals are linked by a network of dedicated telephone lines to a central computer. The old adage that it was far easier to pay your money into a building society than to get it out is becoming a thing of the past. A faster service is what customers are beginning to expect.
Whoa.
One of the ways the larger building societies are trying to attract our money is by giving us the facility to get it back out again at any hour of the day or night. This uses their own installed communications network. The smaller societies, without their own networks, are using the public service Prestel to provide home banking services, which even reduce the need for us to leave our front door. The Building Society cash dispenser that we've just seen is linked to the central computer by a private telephone line. And as you withdraw cash from the dispenser, your account is immediately debited by the amount that you've taken out. You can actually also move money around from the comfort of your own armchair. This is a full floating keyboard with alphabetic characters here and numeric here and special symbols and so on. And it sends an infrared signal into this adapter here. Well, this adapter is connected to my television set so I can see what I've typed in. And it's also connected into an ordinary telephone socket down here. And it's through that telephone line that I can access Prestel, and through Prestel, get in and have a look at my accounts in either the Nottingham Building Society or the Bank of Scotland. And there's my statement of account, and it has the last few weeks' transactions down there, and I've got a credit balance of 2,512. And that gives me a menu asking me what I want to do, and I want to transfer funds to the Bank of Scotland, so I hit 3. And it asks me for my account number, my personal identification number, and the transaction number. Right, so having done that, I now want to enter the amount, £500. And I've got to put in the date that I'm going to pay this, so I'm going to give it the 1st of April. And my account number now for the Bank of Scotland. Instantaneous electronic fund transfer requested from the Nottingham Building Society, the Bank of Scotland, by myself. That's my account number. The amount transferred is £500. If sufficient funds are in your account on the 1st of April, an instant electronic funds transfer will be made to the Bank of Scotland into my account, and I can key 1 to authorise it. And the transaction's been successfully completed. The battle amongst building societies for your money and between building societies and banks has largely been fought in the past by locating branches near your home. With the system, the Nottinghamshire Building Society has located the branch right in your front room. It saves you writing out cheques, it saves you postage, and if you have enough money in your account, you get one of these systems lent to you for nothing. But you'll notice you end up doing all the clerical work for them. And not everyone looks on these developments with satisfaction. They see a negative side.
It's very interesting to note that the banks consistently, while they're reorganising their branch networks and implementing technology at the same time, have argued that this will provide a better customer service. Now, while it's undoubtedly true that customers like to get money out of the bank through an automatic teller machine outside in the middle of the night, if the machine works, then that is an advantage to the customer. But I cannot see their general strategy, which has been to cut down the labour force very, very much to the bone within the domestic branches, being advantageous to the customer.
I think, if anything, Robin Dacey may even be underestimating the impact that this will have on workers. If we truly believe in productivity, then the logical consequence of the electronic office is significant levels of unemployment in areas which, by the very fact they've been inefficiently handled, have allowed people to fill jobs. A lot of management jobs, middle managers who really are paper shufflers and message switchers. Secretaries who are now becoming, at least some of them, semi-skilled workers. It's a sort of assembly line process. So the unemployment impacts will be very large. I'm not sure I agree with her about the service issues. Cash machines are a perfect example. They will certainly have an impact on employment in banks. On the other hand, they're darn sight more convenient by any standard. They're accessible, which is what telecommunications are about.
What people want means, to some extent, what they're able to pay for. What do people want? They want to talk to each other, they want to be entertained, they want information, they want to have help at work, they want to do calculations, do computing, to get programs to play games with. All those things you can do over a telephone line. Technology can do a lot of things for people. Not absolutely everything, but it can do a lot of things.
This is rather like Hollywood in the 1920s, a comparison that a lot of people use. Everybody can see that something very new is happening. Lots of people are trying things out. Some crazy inventions are coming in. 1 or 2 things are winning. But looking at it, telecommunications is churning and turning whole marketplaces which used to be pretty stable. Now, when one adds that up, I'm not sure we can predict what the impact of telecommunications is. But as I look around company after company in Europe and in the States, one really recognizes that it's not telecommunications being used to support a business strategy, but telecommunications basically changing strategies.
Just take one, and we will push you through. Bring a corner or twain. This is the hot Ring anywhere, we're waiting on your phone. Do you want a little warning to make you get up in the morning? Is your house on fire? Do you want to send a wire? Just lift up the receiver, that's all you've got to do.
Next week.